It's been 2 weeks since I've posted last, but I am now 9 weeks pregnant. And the past 2 weeks as a plant-based lifestyle has been a big challenge in pregnancy between morning sickness and just emotions. From journaling and blogging about this process, this pregnancy, and being plant-based, I realized how much of an issue I do have with body image and with eating, and emotional eating. And that's really hard. It's hard to confront that. But it's helpful in acknowledging that and seeing what unhealthy patterns are and trying, because it is trying. You can't, I don't know. There are very few people who have ironclad willpowers who can muscle through temptation and emotional upheavals and all that stuff. So let's get a little more specific. And being very personal. So I recently had an audition where I had to wear a swimsuit. And I thought, and this was like 2 weeks ago was the initial audition. And okay, well, I'm still eating healthy and I'm not, bloating up a lot. So that was 7 weeks pregnant. And then late last week, I had a call back for it. And I was right in the midst of between morning sickness and this terrible, I had these awful cravings for things that I just really didn't want to eat, but I really did, like steak and the brownie fudge sundae at Baskin Robbins with 2 scoops of something chocolatey and delicious, and then the whipped cream. You gotta have the cherry and the nuts. It was bad, my friends. It was so bad. I did not have either, but I had some Cool Whip. I was just overeating, and a lot of it was emotional things. I was feeling very roller coastery, and I was emotionally eating. I was eating a whole lot more than I needed to, and it was just to feel better. But then, of course, that you gain a little extra weight, you bloat up from all that unnecessary stuff, and then I had the call back. I was like, oh crap, I have to wear a swimsuit. Oh, it was just, I felt right in a storm with all of that. And anyway, I had the call back and I thought, well, heck, I'm not going to get this thing at all. And it doesn't shoot for another 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. It's like, well, by then I'm maybe looking rather pregnant. But then I got news yesterday that I'm on hold for the project, which doesn't mean that I've booked it, but it means that I'm right up there with maybe one other person. So don't know when I'll hear back from that, but it helped. Okay. So that, I was just wrestling with a whole lot of stuff. I still can't believe what a struggle the whole meat craving thing was. And part of it was wanting to self-sabotage. And this isn't necessarily pregnancy related. This is just being a person and dealing with eating issues. And I felt out of control. So what do you do? When you feel out of control, you take control. I choose to eat a crap ton because then my emotions will be numbed and I will feel better. I've been reading a lot about emotional numbing and eating and different ways that we do that. I used to do it with alcohol and a lot. And just recently, this is another big thing, just recently in January, decided to really address that and just say no more. So not drinking ever again. And that was huge for me. But there are so many different ways to emotionally numb ourselves. And food is the most socially acceptable way to do that. But, I mean, hey, I love binging on Netflix. At the same time, as an actor, I absolutely love movies. And there's just so many great shows on these days. There's so much good stuff to watch. I like watching the good stuff. And anyway, emotional numbing. We do that. I do that. And so keeping track through the blog and through vlogging, such a funny word, has helped be accountability to me and has been a mirror to see, oh yes, someone has some issues. Okay. And then what can we do about it? Well, as far as the pregnancy front goes, the past several days I have noticed that morning sickness has gone away, which is really nice, and I'm crossing my fingers that that is the case, because how blessed that would be to not have to deal with that anymore. Yeah, and just to be able to eat normally. So what I've been trying out is this novel idea where you actually just eat when you're hungry. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. Part of me, because I'm a little bit smaller, is worried that I'm not going to eat enough. But I know that I got so much food around. I'm totally going to eat plenty. And so I don't know about you, but when I'm concerned that I'm not going to eat enough, I tend to overeat. So like, we gotta make sure I get that in. Don't worry, you got it. All right, so just using your hunger cues, because guess what? Your body is so smart. It's just so very smart. You give it the good stuff, and it's going to tell you when it needs something and what it needs. Sometimes our brain overrides that and go, oh, I really need those salt and vinegar chips. The kettle cooked kind. Oh, yeah, need them. Or like me and the steak. Gosh darn it. I was watching a John Wayne movie. I just got on a John Wayne kick, and I was cooking up pinto beans, and I was stirring in my salsa. And I live in Texas. And I was watching The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And there they are, if you've seen it, and there's the scene where they're in the cafe, and they're literally throwing steaks around. They're throwing steaks, being so manly. And I don't know, but just the fat and the grease and all of that seemed so absolutely wonderful. I was plotting ways. Okay, this is how crazy I was getting. So like the next day or two, that was my callback for the swimsuit thing. And I was plotting in my head as I'm driving to the callback, I'm going to go get barbecue after this. I'm going to eat, because I know that I'm not going to get this job. I'm just going to stuff my face. And then I'm going to get the brownie sundae. Now, thankfully, I didn't, even though I really felt like doing it, because I know, because then I was driving home, and we're in Texas, and there's fields of cows, and I look over and I go, I do not want to eat one of them. So I just got home and had some more beans and rice. It was pretty funny. So sometimes plant-based, especially when you're new at it and you're pregnant and you're dealing with all of the emotions, which also trigger the cravings. I am a firm believer in such things. It's rocky. It's rocky. But, I don't know, it comes in waves. And so when those cravings and those crazings, I shall now name them, because you just go bonkers. When they come, I realize, deep breaths. I will get through this. And I will be just fine. And I know in my head that I don't need this, even though I really want it like a crazy person. Yeah, so I can hold on to that. It's a touchstone for me, looking over at the cows and thinking that, no, I do not want to eat one of them. So, plant-based pregnancy. It's still good. And I do feel great. Yeah, I do feel great. Happy baby making time.